Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Heather and I am an online reseller. I've been selling on eBay for about 17 years now, and a couple of days ago, unfortunately, I did get some negative feedback. Fortunately for me, this does not happen very often, and it's always a bummer when it does. But before I go into detail about what happened and how I solved the problem, I thought that I would share with you 13 tips on how to keep and to get 100% positive feedback on eBay. This isn't always an easy thing to do, so if you're interested, then please stay tuned. Okay, so the first 3 tips are going to be for those of you who are new to eBay who are trying to get that foundation started on your account. So tip number 1 is to offer great service and then to ask your customers for positive feedback. So this might sound a little strange, but you'd be surprised how many people do not naturally leave feedback. I would say that on my account, I usually only get feedback maybe 10 to 20% of the time. So in order to get that first feedback, you're going to need to ask for it. You can either send a note in the package that says something like, "Thanks so much for purchasing from me. I'd really love it if you could give me positive feedback. If for some reason you feel like you can't give me positive feedback, then please contact me and I will do my best to solve the problem." So you can either do that message just in the package, like typed out on a piece of paper, or a few days after it's been sent and maybe after it's delivered to them, you could send them a message through eBay's messaging system and ask. It is really important on eBay that you get that foundation of feedback built up quickly, because people are more likely to trust that you are going to be a good seller and they're going to be more likely to buy from you if you have positive feedback built up. Tip number 2 is to sell things that are low risk. By selling things that are low risk when you very first start out, you're less likely to run into problems, especially when it comes to shipping. I personally would recommend to stay with lower priced items and to do things that are less likely to break in the mail. So nothing that's fragile, and probably not electronics, because you never know, those can have problems in shipping. And things that require batteries sometimes can run into problems, especially if it's something that's older and then the buyer gets it and it's glitchy and they can't get it to work with their batteries. So those are all things to keep in mind. You want to start with something that's simple, that people are not going to have a lot of problems with when they get it. So tip number 3 would be to go above and beyond what you would normally do as a great seller. So maybe add in a thank you note, maybe communicate with them a little bit better, maybe wrap things a little bit better. Really, the goal is to make them think, wow, I should really go and give them positive feedback. They are an amazing seller. Most sellers wouldn't do ... I apologize. I just noticed that my dog is snoring behind me. So if you happen to catch that, sorry. I just kicked her out and now she's out in the hall. So tip number 4 would be to offer returns. Why I say to offer returns is because sometimes people get things and they are not thrilled with it for whatever reason. Maybe it doesn't fit, or maybe it's not exactly what they were expecting. And so they're going to be a little frustrated that they spent however much money and now they have this item that they can't use. So they're going to go and they're going to check and see if they can return it. And if you offer no returns, they're going to be more frustrated than they already were. And that's not a place that you want to have people when they go to leave feedback. You don't want them to be super frustrated. So I recommend that you offer returns, because even if somebody is frustrated and you don't offer returns, there's a good chance that they might modify things so that they can still open up a case and make it look like it's your fault, at which point eBay is going to force you to take the return. So it's usually better just to accept it anyways. To be safe, it's always good to make them pay for shipping both ways. And you can set that up in your eBay account so that it says buyer pays return shipping. And of course, if you are going to do returns, you probably should not offer free shipping, because if they do decide to return it, you are going to be paying for that initial shipping cost. Tip number 5 would be to take great pictures and make sure include several pictures. You're going to want to get different views of the item, maybe the front and back, anything that's distinct, and especially if there's anything wrong with it, you definitely want to include a picture of that portion. On eBay, it's a big no-no to use stock photos. So even though I know a lot of people do it on Poshmark, and I think Mercari might allow it, don't do it on eBay. You can get your account suspended for doing that. And in the end, people want to see what they're actually getting, not what it looked like brand new. Because even on brand new items, there can still be differences in stock photos versus what you actually have on hand. There might be flaws on it that they're not going to pick up if they've only got a stock photo. Also on eBay, you want to make sure that when you take your pictures that you are only picturing the item that's for sale. You don't want to add extra things into the picture, because it can confuse people and then they think that they're getting everything that's in the picture when really they're just getting one thing. Tip number 6 is to describe your items in good detail. People want to know what they're getting. They want to know what the condition is. They want to know the size and the color. So you want to make sure and include all those things. If it's clothing, especially for men's and women's clothing, it's always best to include measurements so that they can make sure it's their right size. Sometimes sizes aren't consistent between brands and they're not used to it, and you can save a return by adding the measurements in. It's especially important to mention any flaws that there might be on the item. You might think, oh, this isn't that big of a deal, but it's always best to include it because some people are super, super picky. Most people probably may not think it's that big of a deal, but there's a handful out there that will. So it's always best to include every little flaw that it might have, and of course to take pictures of it as well. Sometimes when you're taking photos, the color may not come up just right. And so you always want to make sure that if it's not coming out just right, that you mention it in your description and say, you know, this purple is a little bit brighter than it's showing up in the pictures in real life. Or this green is more of a standard green, not as turquoise as it's coming out in the picture. Or something along those lines so that they know that the color is slightly off. On eBay, you can do multi-quantity listings. And if you are going to do this as an option and you have different styles or different colors of an item, you're going to want to be very, very clear about it in your description and possibly even in your title if you can fit it in there. Like maybe say something along the lines of, you pick one, or something that indicates to the buyer that they're not getting all 7 of the options that they're seeing when they click on the item. I've had problems with this in the past, and so now I have in big letters write things out and say, please note, this is for one item only. You get to choose the size or you get to choose the color. But yeah, some people just don't pay attention. So the more bold you can do it, the more of a different color you can do it, the better, so that it catches their eye and they actually read the description. So tip number 7 is to make sure and include any flaws or damage that there might be on the item. And I kind of blundered a little bit and I just kind of talked about this. So I'll just add in that if there is a flaw in the item, that sometimes it's good to write the word flaw in the title, or on eBay in the description box it will say like new with tags or new without box or used. there's a little box that will show up right below that, and you can type in it. And so what I like to do is draw attention that there is something abnormal about the item. So I will say, there is a small flaw. Please carefully view the photos and read the description for more details. That way it draws their eyes and they're more likely to go and to actually read the description yet again so that they pick up on what might be wrong. Tip number 8 is to not overcharge your buyer on shipping and to make sure that you're sending the item out quickly. I personally do calculated shipping, which does go a little bit over the actual shipping rate of what eBay charges because eBay does a discount through USPS. But you do not want to add money into your shipping cost. So an example of this is back 15, 20 years ago when eBay was first starting, auctions were really popular and people would start out their auctions for a penny or for 99 cents or some other low amount. And then in order to save their backs for in case it sold for 99 cents, they would tack on the price of the item into the shipping cost. So now instead of charging the buyer, let's say back in the day it was $2.99, they would then charge the buyer $7.99. And it just makes for a bad buying experience and it makes buyers really frustrated. I've even had buyers who have gotten upset with me when leaving their feedback saying that they thought the shipping was too high when it was actually the actual shipping. But yeah, sometimes the rates are higher than people want them to be. But they got upset in the feedback after it had already been shipped, they'd received it, and they had already paid for it. So they knew the shipping before they paid for it, but you just never know. They still end up mad in the end that you charged however much it was. I personally think that if you are upset with the cost, you shouldn't have paid for it in the first place. But I guess some people just don't pay attention when they go to pay. I don't really know. But yeah, you just want to be careful that you're being fair with your shipping. And of course, on eBay, you want to ship in your handling time. Everyone's handling time is different. Mine is 1 day, but I know that you can have a 2-day handling time, a 3-day handling time, and you want to make sure that you have your package sent out in that amount of time. Buyers really like to have their items quickly, and nowadays it's getting more and more important to do so. If you're unable to get it shipped out in that amount of time, you really need to contact your buyer and let them know and apologize and just let them know whatever the excuse may be for why you didn't get it out on time and just apologize. Like for me, I've had to do it because, I went into labor. So I would send them an email and say, I'm so sorry. I went into labor yesterday and now I'm at the hospital. Your package isn't going to be sent out for 3 more days. I'm so sorry again. Thanks for your patience, Heather. And people usually respond a lot better to that than to just find out, oh wow, my package didn't get shipped for 4 days. And then they're mad. So you definitely want to give them that heads up, and usually people are pretty understanding. Tip number 9 is to package your items well. So what I mean by this is that you want it to arrive to your buyer in a nice looking fashion. So for example, if it's clothing, you don't want to just shove it into the bag. You want to nicely fold it and slide it in so that when they get it, it's nicely presented to them as they're opening the package. Sometimes, depending on what you're doing, you could use tissue paper, but a side tip on that is to not use colored paper, because if you use colored paper and it happens to get wet somehow, it will bleed onto whatever it is that you're sending. So stay away from colored tissue paper. If it's glass, breakable, has anything hard on it, I usually bubble wrap. And it just is always better to be safe than sorry, no matter what it is. So if it's fragile, you want to make sure that you are wrapping it really well with bubble wrap. And It's even a great idea to get the fragile stickers. You can buy those on eBay, and to put those on the side to make sure that they handle it with care, because you want to get it there and you want it to be in one piece when it gets there. I also think that it's a good idea, if you're sending something that's fragile, that you put insurance on it, or if you send it priority, there's insurance included in priority mail, just as an extra precaution for in case something does happen to it while it's in shipping. So this next side tip is a little bit of a funny one, but I've had this happen to me. You do not want to add extra things in with your package. Some people think that it's really fun and nice to add in extras, and some people may think that it's great getting it. Others are going to be like, what? Why did they do this? I have actually had an experience where I got a package and it was probably baby clothes of some kind, and the seller had included a package of candy. So it was like this little bag full of like Smarties and Dum-Dums, and it was weird. So number one, it added to their shipping cost, and number two, I wouldn't even eat candy that some random person had it included in my package. It was just kind of weird. So yeah, you don't want to do that. And you also don't want to add in advertisements for things, flyers. So I actually was on a forum a long time ago on eBay, and somebody had sent a package and they were including religious flyers in there, trying to get people to join their church. And the people that were chatting back and forth about how this had happened to them, they were so upset. And they were like, oh, I'm totally going to give them negative feedback. They shouldn't be including this kind of stuff and trying to get me to join their church in my box. You know, I didn't ask for that. They shouldn't be giving it. So you just want to be careful. Don't send extra things, even if you think you're being nice or you think, oh, maybe my buyer would like this. Just stick to the basics and just send the item. And on that same note of sending the item as the item, you do not want to add extra smells to the item. It can be really frustrating to some buyers to get things that have been sprayed with perfume or even with a dryer sheet in it, as some people are really bothered by those kinds of smells. And so even though you want your item to be fresh smelling, it's never a good idea to spray it with things or to add smells to it. Okay, so for tip number 10, it is to double check the item before you send it. This may seem obvious, but when you are about to send the item, you need to look it over and make sure that there's not fuzzes on it, that it's still in the clean condition that it was when you listed it in. You want to make sure, if you have a pet especially, that you do not have hairs on the item. Nobody wants to receive a blanket or a sweater covered in cat hair or dog hair. So either you can get a lint roller and roll it off, or I like to get tape and wrap it around my fingers, and then I just go across the item and it just sticks to the tape. The same with fuzzes, it'll pick up fuzzes or dust that may have gotten on it. Same thing with dust. If it's dusty, wipe it off. You know, if you have shoes, check inside the shoes, make sure there's not loose hairs inside of them. You just want to make sure that everything looks extra nice and that it's not been damaged while it's been in storage. This is also a great time to double check the sizes and make sure that if your listing says medium, then you actually have a medium. Especially if you have multi-quantity listings on eBay. Sometimes this will happen to me, and especially with kids hangers, sometimes it'll say medium on the hanger and then the actual item on the hanger is a size small, and I can get in trouble thinking that, oh, it's a medium because that's what's on the hanger, and it's actually not, it's a small. So you just want to be extra mindful to check any of those extra things. You know, check shoes, make sure both shoes are the sizes that you think that it should be. Tip number 11 is to remove any evidence of the discounted price that you received the item for. So if there was a garage sale sticker on it, if you have a Ross tag or a TJ Maxx tag, or if there's a clearance sticker on the price tag, you want to remove all of these things. The same with thrift stores. If you've got the price written on the bottom of the shoe, you're going to want to remove that price off the shoe. Nobody wants to get an item, and let's say you charged $40 for it, and you send along the tag from Marshall's that says, hey, I picked this up for $7.99. It just is not good for buyer satisfaction. Nobody wants to know how much you paid for it. They want to think they got a great deal, and that's just gonna kind of ruin the experience for them. Okay, so tip number 12 is that sometimes when you go to send things, you do notice that there is something wrong that was not there, or maybe you didn't notice it the first time. And the best thing to do in this scenario is to contact the buyer and let them know and apologize a lot. I have a generic email that I send out that starts something along the lines of, I was just getting your item ready to send and I noticed ... It had whatever wrong with it. There's a small spot I didn't notice. There's, a teeny hole, whatever it is. And then just say, I'm so sorry that I didn't catch this before. And then at that point, I like to give them an option. I'll say, I am happy to give you a $2 discount on the item because of the flaw. If you would still like to purchase it, or if you no longer want to purchase the item, then of course I am happy to give you a full refund and we can cancel the item. And you'd be surprised, but a lot of people will still take the offer of doing the discount and they'll still take the item. So it works out well for me, it works out well for them, because I don't want to be stuck with the damaged item either. It's going to be harder to sell it damaged in whichever way that it is damaged, and they're still happy. And even if they don't and they decide that they want to cancel it instead, usually they're still happy because you were really nice and you apologized, and I've never had negative feedback as a result of that. On a similar note, if you happen to have something happen to an item, or you lose an item, or let's say you cross-promoted it and you forgot to cancel it or to end the item on eBay, you're going to want to go and do the same thing with the buyer and apologize up and down, explain what happened, and usually they'll be okay with it if you are apologizing a lot and you're really nice. But you don't ever want to just go and cancel an item and not say anything. That usually will make people pretty upset, so you don't want to do that. So tip number 13 is to offer great communication. What I mean by this is to be super polite and kind in any communication that you have with your buyer. So if somebody happens to ask you a question, like let's say they ask you to measure the chest measurement of such and such sweater, instead of just responding back and being like 26 inches, instead you're going to want to go over the top and be like, hi, here's the measurement. The measurement is 26 inches. I hope that you're having an awesome night. Let me know if you have any more questions. Something along those lines. So you always want to add in something positive at the end of any message that you're leaving with the buyer so that it comes across well on your side. This same means of communication and being positive and polite goes into account with people emailing that may have had a problem with something that they ordered. So if somebody emails you and says, I got this item and it's got this huge hole in it, I don't know how you could have sent it this way, you're horrible, you've got to be really careful to keep your cool and to put on a happy smiley face and to calmly write them back. You don't ever want to get defensive, you don't want to accuse them of anything. You don't want to get into a battle with them. You want to calmly respond and apologize for whatever it is. Just say, I'm so sorry that you're unhappy with your item, and then proceed to ask questions to try to gauge what really happened in the situation, to decide, was it really my fault? Was it their fault? Was it the post office's fault? You usually want to figure that out so that they don't end up scamming you. People don't always scam you, but sometimes people will complain and they really are scamming you. So you have to ask those kinds of questions. Can you send me a picture? Can you tell me exactly what happened when you opened it? Was the package damaged? Like, it could have been USPS, to try to get a feel of if they are trying to scam you or if they're really being honest. But yet again, same thing, be super polite. A lot of I'm so sorry, offering to make amends for whatever the problem was, and to try to work with the buyer to get to an agreement where both of you are happy in the end. Okay, so even if you do all these things, I hate to break it to you, but there is still going to be those times when people are going to leave negative feedback. Usually people will contact you first before leaving negative feedback, but sometimes that doesn't happen and they just complain and make a deal in your feedback. So usually the first thing that I do if I get negative feedback is I go right to the buyer and I try to solve the problem. I apologize and I try to get to the bottom of what it is that has made them unhappy, and I try to come to a solution with them so that they feel better about the situation and the buying experience. And then once that's happened, then I will go and I will politely ask them to take the feedback back, and they often will do so. Every once in a while you'll get that person who's a stickler and will fight you, and you can't make them happy. And unfortunately, usually there's not anything you can do about it at that point. And even though it really stinks, sometimes negative feedback is negative feedback, and it's just what it is. So in the event that you can't get the negative feedback removed, either the buyer has said they refuse to take it away, or maybe they wouldn't even respond to you in the first place when you contacted them, you do have the opportunity to go in and to respond to the feedback. And I would advise that when you do so, that you keep in mind that your future customers are going to be looking at this response. So when you leave a response, you want to say something that's going to make you look good and trustworthy for your future customers. You don't want to use this as an opportunity to fight back your battle for whatever it was that they said that was terrible about what you did or didn't do. You don't want to do anything like that. You want to usually, I think the best thing is to say, like, I offered the buyer a discount, or I offered to let them return it and they decided that they did not want to, or something along those lines, something that said that you were trying to work with the buyer, but it still did not make them happy. That way it shows that you're a good seller. And usually people can pick up on the vibe that sometimes buyers are bad buyers, and there's always going to be bad buyers. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and share with you what happened to me a couple of days ago. So I was actually going to respond to an offer, and as I was scanning across the page, I saw 99.6 next to my name, and I thought, what? 99.6? What happened? And automatically my stomach is all tied up in knots, and yeah, I do not like negative feedback. So I went and I clicked on my account, and sure enough, I had a negative feedback, and it was something along the lines of, I was super unhappy that my baby could not use this hat for her first Christmas, slow shipping. So fortunately, in this case, because of all of the USPS delays this holiday season and the problems with COVID, eBay is covering all of the sellers. So if you have such a complaint or you get negative feedback, they will automatically remove it for you. So I went onto my feedback page and there was a little button at the top that said something along the lines of request to remove feedback. And I clicked on that button and there were 5 options. It wasn't any of the first 4 options, so I clicked on other, the 5th one, which was like other something out of your control. And then it popped up another screen, and on that screen it allowed you to kind of say why it is that you felt like your feedback should be removed. I filled that out, clicked submit, and within, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours, I got a reply that said it's been removed. So super fast and efficient, and I was really happy with how quick that was with eBay. I have heard other people on forums that were talking about calling in to take care of things like that, and they were saying that it was like 2 hours just to get somebody on the phone. So I was really dreading having to call in, and I was super excited that I could do it just by doing the messaging system, and it was super quick and efficient. So if you ever have something similar happen, then make sure and go that route and don't do the phone call. Unfortunately, with a lot of other eBay issues, you do have to call and wait on the line to talk to an actual person. But I lucked out, and this time that wasn't the case. So unfortunately, even if you do everything that you can to be a great seller, sometimes things do go wrong, and sometimes you do get buyers who just want to complain, or possibly are even scamming you, and it happens. Fortunately, it doesn't happen very often. I've been on eBay for 17 years, like I was mentioning before, and I usually can go a year to 3 years without having any kind of problems with negative feedback. And usually if I do get that one in every couple of years happen to me, I usually can talk to the buyer and solve the problem and have it removed. It's pretty rare that it ends up sticking. But even if it does end up sticking, remember that it only will stay for a year. And a lot of people don't even look at feedback. There are a lot that do. But even if you have one negative feedback, it's not going to stop somebody from buying from you. Unless, of course, it's your very first feedback, and that wouldn't be good. But hopefully that's not the case for you. But yeah, so it's just one of those things that is a part of selling online that you have to deal with. It's that ups and downs of, the roller coaster of reselling. There's those great highs where people are super friendly and nice, and then unfortunately there's those lows, and you just have to remember things will get better, and it's just a feedback. So I hope that you learned something new in this video. If you learned something or found some of the tips useful, please let me know in the comments below. I'd really appreciate it. And I hope that you are having a great sales week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.